The Diamond Sutra, Chapter 17. Ultimately, there is no self. Then Subhuti said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, if a good man or good woman resolves his heart on Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, how should he dwell? How should he subdue his heart?" The Buddha told Subhuti, "A good man or good woman who has resolved his heart on Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi should think thus: I should take all living beings across to extinction, yet when all living beings have been taken across to extinction, there actually is not a single living being who has been taken across to extinction." And why? Subhuti, if a bodhisattva has a mark of self, a mark of others, a mark of living beings, or a mark of a life, then he is not a bodhisattva. For what reason? Subhuti, actually, there is no dharma of resolving the heart on Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Subhuti, what do you think? While the Tathagata was with burning lamp Buddha, was there any dharma of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi attained? No, world-honored one, as I understand what the Buddha has said. While the Buddha was with burning lamp Buddha, there was no Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi attained. When Subhuti heard the Buddha praise the inconceivable merit and virtue of the Sutra and the resulting retribution from receiving, holding, reciting, and speaking the Sutra for others as equally inconceivable, he asked, how can all the good men and good women who have resolved their hearts on unsurpassed, proper, and equal right enlightenment enable their hearts not to dwell anywhere? How can they separate from all marks and subdue their hearts? In a previous section of text, Subhuti had asked the same question of the Buddha. At that time, Subhuti was actually asking how he himself could resolve his heart on Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. It was for self-benefit. Now he is asking how all living beings everywhere can resolve their hearts on Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. How they can tame their hearts and where their hearts should dwell. The Buddha answered that people who have resolved their hearts on the unsurpassed, proper, and equal right enlightenment should take all living beings across to extinction, rescue and liberate all living beings so they can realize the Buddha way. But the Buddha further pointed out, after having taken them all across to extinction, a bodhisattva does not recognize any living being as having been taken across. He does not have any attachment If a bodhisattva says, I am able to take living beings across to extinction, he has a mark of self. If he says, I can take others across, he has a mark of others. With a self taking others across, the mark of living beings arises. Once there is a division into one's own enlightenment and the enlightenment of others, there is the mark of a life. However, there is no one who takes beings across, nor are there any beings who are taken across, nor is there an act of taking them. One should not then be attached to such marks. If there is attachment, then not only has one not attained to the emptiness of dharmas, one has not even attained to the emptiness of people, and he is not a bodhisattva. Subhuti. Actually, there is no dharma of resolving the heart on Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Originally, there is not one dharma which can be obtained. Resolving the heart on Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is just an expression, nothing more. There basically is not one thing. So where can dust alight? However, the Buddha realized that living beings might become skeptical and say, since there is no dharma of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, no dharma of realizing Buddhahood which can be attained, then why does one need to be resolved? The Buddha therefore further explained, when Burning Lamp Buddha gave me a prediction, did I obtain a dharma of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? Was there any dharma which I attained? Understanding that according to the doctrine of prajna, there is no dharma which can be attained. Subhuti answered, no, world-honored one. But then he qualified his statement with the words, as I understand what the Buddha has said. Indicating he did not dare make an absolute statement. This is how I look at it, he said. But I do not know if I am right or not. There is not the slightest dharma of unsurpassed, proper, and equal right enlightenment which can be attained. The Buddha said, so it is, Subhuti. There actually was no dharma of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi which the Tathagata attained. Subhuti, if there had been a dharma of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi which the Tathagata attained, then Burning Lamp Buddha would not have given me the prediction, you will in the future attain Buddhahood and be named Shakyamuni, since there actually was no dharma of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi attained. Burning Lamp Buddha gave me the prediction saying these words, you will in the future attain Buddhahood and be named Shakyamuni. The Buddha replied to Subhuti's statement in the affirmative. So it is, Subhuti, yes. You explain Dharma that way. I also explained Dharma that way. There actually was no Dharma. There was absolutely no Dharma of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, which the Tathagata attained. Subhuti, you should not give rise to doubt and think that when the Buddha dwelt at the time of burning lamp Buddha, that he obtained some secret Dharma. That would be a mistake. When Shakyamuni Buddha met burning lamp Buddha at the end of his second Asamkhya Kalpa of cultivation, there was no secret Dharma of unsurpassed, proper, and equal right enlightenment attained. Subhuti, said the Buddha, if there had been such a Dharma, then Burning Lamp Buddha would not have bestowed a prediction and a name upon me. If I had obtained even the slightest Dharma, he would not have said, in the future, in the Saha world, you will become a Buddha named Shakyamuni. The Sanskrit name Shakyamuni translate as one who is capable of humaneness. And the still and silent one, capable of humaneness, means he accords with conditions, and it represents movement. Still and silent means he is unmoving, and it represents stillness. Although he accords with conditions, he is unmoving. Although he is unmoving, he accords with conditions. Movement does not obstruct stillness. Stillness does not obstruct movement. Movement and stillness are both within samadhi. There actually is no Dharma in the fruit position of the unsurpassed, proper, and equal right enlightenment which can be attained. Why? You personally cultivate and personally certify to the position. It is not obtained from the outside, because basically you already have it. It is not that you become involved in external conditions or rely on external strength. The conditions and the strength are within you. You cultivate and you can attain. Of course, to say you attain is just a manner of speaking, because actually, basically, you never lost anything in the first place, so it is not possible for you to attain anything. Since it was that way for Sakyamuni Buddha, Burning Lamp Buddha gave him a prediction and a special name. And why Tathagata means thusness of all dharmas. If someone were to say the Tathagata attains Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi Subhuti, actually, there is no Dharma of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi which the Buddha attains. Subhuti, the Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi which the Tathagata attains, in that there is neither true nor false. For that reason, the Tathagata speaks of all dharmas as Buddha dharmas. Subhuti, all dharmas are spoken of as no dharmas. Therefore, they are called dharmas. Tathagata, which translates as thus come one, means that all dharmas are thus. All dharmas are in a state of unmoving suchness. What does unmoving suchness look like? It has no appearance. Therefore, it further says there is no dharma which can be attained. If you attained a dharma, what would it look like? Would it be green, yellow, red, white, long, short, square, round? When there is no name, no color, and no appearance, then all dharmas are thus. If there is a dharma which can be obtained, then it is not thus. If there is any apparent dharma, then it is not thus. Actually, there is not the slightest dharma which can be attained. There is no dharma of unsurpassed proper and equal right enlightenment which the Buddha can attain. The Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi which the Tathagata attains. If you force it and say that the Tathagata attains something called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, that Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is neither true nor false. Being neither true nor false, it is the final meaning of the middle way. It is real mark prajna. Therefore, the Tathagata says that although there is no dharma which can be attained, all dharmas are Buddha dharmas. There is nothing outside the Buddha dharma. Therefore, all teachings are Buddhist. They do not go beyond the Buddha's teaching, because the Buddha's teaching contains all things. Buddha Dharma is the totality of all dharmas. Buddhism is the totality of all other teachings. All schools and teachings are born from within the Buddha's teaching. Since they are all born from Buddhism, in the future they will again return to Buddhism. Therefore, it is unnecessary to ask to what religion a person belongs. No matter what school or sect or teaching or religion one believes, none goes beyond Buddhism. The essential point is to have faith in something. Then although you may believe various teachings, switching back and forth from this one to that one, in the end you will certainly return to Buddhism. The Buddha Dharma is that great. Although it says there is no Dharma which can be obtained, nonetheless there is not one Dharma which is not Buddha Dharma. And since the Buddha Dharma is ultimately unattainable, how could a single Dharma be attained? Subhuti, all dharmas are spoken of as no dharmas. When spoken from the point of view of common truth, dharmas exist. If spoken of from the point of view of actual truth, no dharmas exist. Therefore, they are called dharmas. when spoken from the point of view of the middle way, dharmas are false names and nothing more. And in that way, they are the final meaning of the middle way. Subhuti. It is like a person's big body. Subhuti said, World-honored one, the person's big body is spoken of by the Tathagata as no big body. Therefore, it is called a big body. Subhuti. A bodhisattva is also thus. If he were to say, I should take measureless living beings across to extinction, then he would not be called a bodhisattva. And why? Subhuti, there actually is no dharma called a bodhisattva. For that reason, the Buddha spoke of all dharmas as devoid of self, devoid of others, devoid of living beings, and devoid of a life. Subhuti. If a bodhisattva were to say, I shall adorn Buddha lands, he would not be called a bodhisattva. And why? The adornment of Buddha lands is spoken of by the Tathagata as no adornment. Therefore, it is called adornment. Subhuti. If a bodhisattva comprehends that all dharmas are devoid of self, the Tathagata calls him a true bodhisattva. Now, Subhuti, why did I say that all dharmas are no dharmas, but are just called dharmas? I will give you an example. It is like a person's big body. Subhuti heard the Buddha say those words and understood that the Tathagata was speaking of the Dharma body. He replied, the big body spoken of by the Tathagata is no big body. The Dharma body is devoid of marks. And since it has no marks, one cannot call it a big body. Therefore, it is called a big body. If one uses a false name, one can call it a big body. And that is all. Shakyamuni, a Buddha, again called to Subhuti and said, a bodhisattva is also thus. If he has a self and relies on the word I, so that he says, I take living beings across and liberate them, then he is not a bodhisattva. Subhuti, if a bodhisattva says, I shall adorn Buddha lands, then he is not called a bodhisattva. Why? He still has an attachment to self and to the adornment. I am one who can adorn. The Buddha land is what I adorn. As long as he attaches to subject and object, he has not realized the emptiness of the mark of self. Bodhisattvas take living beings across and do not attach to the mark of living beings. Not only do they not attach to the mark of living beings, they also do not attach to the mark of a bodhisattva. The bodhisattva himself is also the mark of living beings. So not attaching to self is also not attaching to living beings. When a bodhisattva adorns Buddha lands, there is neither one who can adorn, nor that which is adorned. When it is done, it is done. It is not necessary to harbor thoughts of the merit gained. When an ordinary person does meritorious deeds, he becomes attached to subject and objects. I did that meritorious deed. He is the recipient of my good deed. That is the way of a common person thinks. Bodhisattvas should adorn Buddha lands without the thought of adornment. That is not to say they should not adorn Buddha lands. It means they should adorn them as if they had done nothing. To adorn a Buddha land is to cause the country of a Buddha to be especially beautiful. Our offerings of flowers, fruit, and incense to the triple jewel are adornments of Buddha lands. That is not to say you should not adorn Buddha lands. It means you should adorn them and yet not adorn them. Offerings to the triple jewel of flowers, fruit, and incense also serve as adornments for Buddha lands. From the point of view of common truth, there is adornment of Buddha lands. From the point of view of actual truth, there is no adornment. If viewed from the doctrine which is perfectly fused without obstruction, adornment is merely a name and nothing more. So it is said, within the doors of Buddha work, not one dharma is rejected. In the nature of true suchness, there is not one mote of dust. Within the doors of Buddhahood, there is no dharma which is not Buddhahood, Buddha dharma. Every dharma one takes up is Buddha dharma. And yet in the nature of true suchness, not even the finest dust mote is established. If a bodhisattva can comprehend the state in which all dharmas have no self, then the Tathagata calls him an authentic bodhisattva. Chapter 18 of the Diamond Sutra. One substance regarded as identical. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the flesh eye? So it is, world-honored one. The Tathagata has the flesh eye. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the heavenly eye? So it is, world-honored one. The Tathagata has the heavenly eye. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the wisdom eye? So it is, world-honored one. The Tathagata has the wisdom eye. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the Dharma eye? So it is, world-honored one. The Tathagata has the Dharma eye. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the Buddha eye? So it is, world-honored one. The Tathagata has the Buddha eye. Subhuti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata spoken of the sand grains in the Ganges River? So it is, world-honored one. The Tathagata has spoken of that sand. A bodhisattva who commits himself to undertaking practices which are meritorious and virtuous should proceed without hesitation to do just that. Seeds planted in the field will in the future yield a harvest. There is no benefit in speculating on the size of the crop. Attention need only be paid to the planting and cultivation of the field. If care is taken and the conditions of earth, water, and wind are right, then the plants will grow. If the field is never planted, however, no yield at all can be expected. In just that way, a bodhisattva takes living beings across to the other shore without actually taking any living beings across. A bodhisattva does not waste energy worrying about the outcome. He just does his work. Shakyamuni Buddha again called to Subhuti and asked, does the Tathagata have the flesh eye? The flesh eye referred to is not the ordinary eye of common people, but rather one of the 5 eyes. Why is it given the name flesh eye? It is called the flesh eye because it can see tangible objects and also objects which are devoid of form or marks. Ordinary eyes can see people, but they cannot see ghosts and spirits. However, with the power of the flesh eye, one can close his ordinary eyes and continue to see people. What is more, the flesh eye can examine people in the minutest detail, taking note of any distinguishing marks such as moles or birthmarks. The range of the flesh eye is much greater than that of ordinary eyes. It can see every object within a radius of 5 miles without obstruction. The heavenly eye, on the other hand, can see clearly into the heavens. Gods can be seen dining or sitting in meditation, and one can behold other events which take place in the heavens. The heavenly eye does not perceive material objects such as people, tables, flowers, and the like. The flesh eye and the heavenly eye, the Buddha eye, the wisdom eye, and the Dharma eye are located on your head. The flesh eye and the heavenly eye are on opposite sides of your forehead. When your 5 eyes are open and you can utilize them, you yourself will know their location. We can already see all the way to the moon through the use of telescopes, someone says. With the use of the heavenly eye, you do not need a telescope. Everything in the heavens, everything on the moon, everything in the stars can be seen right from where you sit. Scientists now perform experiments in order to expand their powers of observation. We do not experiment. We just learn to enter samadhi, and then everything can be seen very clearly. The power of the heavenly eye is very helpful in the study of astronomy. But you cannot capitalize on that ability if you acquire its use. Although the heavenly eye is a priceless gem, it cannot be sold. If you see something with the heavenly eye and try to disclose your findings, your heavenly eye will automatically disappear. It is just that wonderful. The heavenly eye cannot be used to make a profit, nor can it be used to gain power over people. If you say things like, "You had better pay attention to me," "I know things you don't know," you have a defect, and your heavenly eye will quickly disappear. Why, you ask? Does the heavenly eye function that way? Arrogance is an attachment to self. The reason a bodhisattva is able to take living beings across without there being a mark of living beings or the mark of taking them across is because he has no attachment to self. If you would obtain the power of any of the 5 eyes and then brag about that attainment, saying, I have the heavenly eye, you don't," then you lack the requisite stature. If you originally could see clearly with the heavenly eye, you will see a little less clearly as a result of your attachment to self. If you do not see clearly but are still arrogant about the little bit of attainment you have, then you will totally lose whatever power you have gained. There is exactly that direct ratio between the power of the 5 eyes and the attachment to self. Therefore, it is essential to understand the Buddha Dharma, for if you do not, it is possible to make serious mistakes. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the wisdom eye? The wisdom eye enables one to know at a glance if something is right or wrong, true or false. A stupid person mistakes what is false for what is true, and what is true for what is false. A wise person knows what is true and what is false and is not confused. Everyone needs to investigate the Buddha Dharma in order to develop the wisdom eye. Subhuti, what do you think? If all the grains of sand in one Ganges river became an equal number of Ganges rivers, and all the grains of sand in all those Ganges rivers became that many Buddha lands, would that be many? Very many, World Honored One. The Buddha told Subhuti, all the various thoughts which occur to all the living beings in all those Buddha lands are completely known by the Tathagata. And why? All thoughts are spoken of by the Tathagata as no thoughts. Therefore, they are called thoughts. For what reason? Subhuti, past thought cannot be got at. Present thought cannot be got at. And future thought cannot be got at. The Buddha then employed an analogy wherein each grain of sand in the Ganges River was transformed into a Ganges River, and each grain of sand in each of those rivers was transformed into a Buddha land. Then he pointed out that the Tathagata knows what is happening in the hearts of all the living beings in all those Buddha lands. Why? All thoughts are spoken of by the Tathagata as no thoughts. All thoughts refers to what is going on in the minds of all living beings. No thoughts means that they are not the true heart. Therefore, they are called thoughts. Means they are just the ordinary thoughts in people's minds, nothing more. Why, Subhuti, said the Buddha? I will state this more simply. What you call the past is already gone by. The past does not remain. As soon as you speak of the present, it has already passed. So it too does not remain. What you refer to as the future has not yet arrived, and so it also cannot be got at. Those three kinds of thoughts in the minds of living beings are ultimately unobtainable. The Tathagata completely knows the thoughts in the hearts of all living beings. If you do not climb on conditions, then the three kinds of thought cannot be got at. Let us look further into the five eyes. Are they produced from within, or do they come from outside? The five eyes are not produced from within, nor do they come from the outside, nor do they exist in the middle. Cultivate, use effort, and when your skill is sufficient, you will have them naturally. Before sufficient skill is attained, no amount of seeking will cause them to function. Seeking is false thinking. Seeking without the thought of seeking brings a response. In what way does one apply? In what way does one apply, make an effort to open one's eyes? You need to be wise in managing affairs and wise in cultivation. It is wise to recognize what is good and then courageously and vigorously work toward it. The characteristic of wisdom is to recognize and vow to cut off and cast out what is bad, realizing something is good and yet not acting in accord with it is the characteristic of stupidity. It is stupid to recognize that something is bad business and still go ahead and become involved in it. If you are stupid, it is not easy to obtain the 5 eyes. In order to obtain them, everything you do must be done extremely clearly. You must be very precise and cannot be confused. What do the 5 eyes do? The wisdom eye contemplates the nature of the Dharma realm. In so doing, the wisdom eye is complete with all aspects of wisdom. When you wish to consult the Buddhist sutras, you must use a book. With the Dharma eye, however, you do not need to read the sutras because you can see the Buddha Dharma throughout all of empty space, everywhere throughout all the Dharma realm. There are sutras everywhere. So it is said that the Dharma eye completely illuminates the marks of all dharmas. The Buddha eye enables you to understand the true meaning of all Buddha Dharma. Those of you who wish to attain the Buddha eye should remember that it is located between your eyebrows. Otherwise, on the day when an eye appears in that place, you will utterly panic and wonder, how did I grow another eye? My telling you in advance is to spare you any fear. The Dharma eye can thoroughly investigate everything, people's prior causes and subsequent results, the penetration of past lives, the penetration of the heavenly eye, all are completely understood. The Buddha eye is extremely wonderful and inconceivable. It can see things with form and things without form, with a power several million times greater than that of the flesh eye. If you obtain the 5 eyes, you should protect them carefully. How should you protect them? By continuing to nourish your good roots, cultivate blessings and wisdom. Those of you who have not obtained the eyes need to work hard and develop blessings and wisdom. When your blessings and wisdom are sufficient, your 5 eyes will open. It's the end of chapter 18 of the Diamond Sutra.